Governments are no longer denying it. The military are no longer denying it. And even mainstream media no longer denies it. They're here and have been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing the truth with you. Welcome to MUFON's What's Up with hosts Katie Griboski, Christopher DePerno, and Katie Cook, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up? Well, I hope tomorrow night it's Santa and his reindeer. It's Thursday night, and you are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON. Happy holidays, everybody. I want to welcome you to the show. We have a great show for you tonight. Actually, we have Jack Turnbull, the director of the UK, all the way from England in the second hour. The first hour, we have great UFO news and clips and discussion. And as always, it's brought to you by KGRADB.com. We always endorse MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, who's always asking that all-important question and on the front lines to try to find out, are we alone in the universe? So welcome everybody and happy holidays, no matter what you celebrate. I'm glad you're with us tonight. I would like to introduce our co-host, and I thought it would be so much fun to ask about family traditions. So welcome, Katie Cook. And do you have a favorite holiday tradition you like every year?
Yes, I do indeed. So in England, I'm from England originally, and we always like to open Christmas crackers. And I think most of you probably know what that is, but it's definitely something they do more in Europe. But it's like this rolled up piece of paper, and you pull either end, and there's a bang, and you get this silly paper hat. And the funniest thing is there's usually really bad jokes in there. It's almost like a fortune cookie, just a little piece of paper with bad jokes. But I actually have a little video from us doing this a few years ago. Amanda, if you can roll that.
2, 1.
Oh.
No! He's done the double. Oh, what's that?
Oh, I got the gold
That's
hat.
the jinx. What is that? What's the jinx? Only 25. What? How many letters are there in the alphabet at Christmas time? Only 25 because there's no L.
I love that tradition. That's so cool. I've never heard of that before. Oh my gosh, I love that.
It's good. It's good fun.
That's great. Yeah. And I'd like to welcome Chris DePerno. Chris, do you have a new family tradition?
Well, I do. Normally, my family tradition was always to reach out to first responders and the military people who couldn't actually be home for Christmas. I've always had a thing where I sent them a letter or I sent them something to do that. But I got a new tradition now. It's called spoiling my granddaughter rotten for Christmas and stuff. And I got a picture of my brand new granddaughter. And so every Christmas, it's my goal to spoil her like there's no tomorrow, and then give her back to my daughter and my son-in-law and say, you can deal with it. And that's my new family tradition, is to give her as much love, care, and holiday tradition as much as possible.
She is beautiful. And that is the best part of being a grandparent, isn't it? It's like, oh, spoil, here you go. Load them up on chocolate and candy, give them back to the parents. I love that.
Oh, there'll be a lot of that. As soon as she's able to eat that stuff, she'll be with granddad getting ice cream, cake, cookies, anything that little child wants.
No, I love that. So my family tradition every year, it's been passed down for generations and generations. We make a bread called julekake. It's a Norwegian Christmas bread, and it has cardamom in it. And so the smell of the cardamom is so delicious, and it's so yummy. And So that's our family tradition, the Yulakaga Christmas bread. So
does that travel well in the mail? Because I really kind of want to try that.
I know, it's kind of funny. We all our family members are, you guys making Yulakaga this year? Because my daughter has mastered it. So she's sort of the master of the Yulakaga bread. Because sometimes, it doesn't rise as well. But yeah, so how fun is that? I love traditions. I think traditions are an important part of the holidays. So, and Katie, I know you always kick us off with something fun. What do you have for us this week?
Speaking of traditions, we have the little tradition of starting our show with some funny memes. So Amanda, if you could put the first one up there. Oh my gosh, for anyone who's just listening on the radio, it's the aliens, from the movie Alien. And but the poor guy's got his tongue stuck on the pole, like a Christmas story. I just thought that was too cute. And then I've got a second one since it's Christmas, an oldie but a goodie. And for anyone listening on the radio. So there's these cars with the trees on the top. Well, there's also a flying saucer with their Christmas tree on the top. And one alien saying to the other, "What? I thought it would help us blend in." That's cute. Fun little Christmas stuff. And then, of course, I always love to talk about paranormal pops. Obviously, it's too late for you to get your order for Christmas, but I want you to think ahead for next year because they actually have Christmas ones. Check this out. I just got this. Look, it is a Christmas card with Bigfoot on it. This is white chocolate mint with chocolate mint. And, of course, we got Sasquatch there. I just love that. And then I also have a little Santa alien. How cute is that guy? And this one is white chocolate.
I like that one.
Yeah, of course, you can order those at paranormalpops.com. And then finally, for all of you guys that think that maybe, the world's been priming us to get used to the idea of aliens, well, here's Exhibit A. You can now get an ugly Christmas alien sweater. This is from Walmart.com. You can't even go in the store and get them, I don't think, only available online. But I'm going to get one of those for next year because I'm kind of in love with that little guy. So there you have it. That's a little fun to start the show. Chris, what's happening in the world of UFO news?
Oh, have we got some holiday news for you? I mean, just unbelievable. Let me start with my first story, which is... Okay, so our first story. Man in clown mask attempts to steal jet to fly to Area 51 to see aliens.
What?
Folks, you got a better chance of seeing Jesus before you see an alien at Area 51. Anyways, a Las Vegas man is in considerable legal trouble following a wild incident where he breached an airport security perimeter by way of a limousine and then donned a clown mask while attempting to commandeer a jet to a trip to Area 51 to see aliens. Oh, God. The misadventure reportedly unfolded last Wednesday when Matthew Hancock allegedly drove a limo through two metal fences surrounding McCarran International Airport. After pulling up alongside a jet on the tarmac, authorities said Hancock stepped out of his vehicle, put on a clown mask, and informed workers at the aircraft that he intended to blow this place up with a bomb so he could go see aliens. According to police, Hancock then got back inside the limo and began to drive away, while airport personnel fled the scene, and I don't blame them. Fortunately, there was no standoff or altercation when the cops came and caught up with Mr. Hancock, and he surrendered immediately. That's when things took an even stranger turn when Hancock reported to police his reasoning for the event wasn't a terrorist attack. He simply wanted to tell them that he had a bomb in his vehicle because he wanted to steal a jet and somehow use it to journey to Area 51 to look at the aliens. Yeah. Cops searched the limo and actually found a fake bomb made of an oxygen tank, a fire extinguisher, and various metal objects, all strung together with Christmas lights. Well, he's in the holiday spirits, I guess. And one might imagine Hancock was arrested and has been charged with multiple crimes. Cookie, I got to tell you, this is a great holiday story because he's using Christmas lights to make a bomb and he wanted to go spend Christmas with the aliens.
Santa Alien approves. Yeah. Santa Alien approves. You know what? I like his style. He did it with a limo. I mean, if you're gonna like go to jail possibly for the rest of your life for doing something really stupid, at least do it in a limo. That is crazy.
That's a good thought. If you're gonna do it in style. You know what I mean? There you go. Katie?
He didn't know that the aliens were hiding out in S4, not Area. I mean, Area 51, S4. They're right there next to each other, but he was going to go into the wrong place. Wouldn't have seen anything.
haven't thought about the landmines, the armed security guards, the machine guns.
Yeah, forget all that.
The steel vaults and everything else that probably laid in his way. But you know what? You got the holiday spirit. You want to try. What the hell? Wow. All right, let's get on to our next story. Bizarre wishbone UFO filmed in Chicago. A video from Chicago shows a truly bizarre wishbone, like a UFO hovering in the sky, as the witnesses watching it struggle to comprehend what they are seeing. The weird video was reportedly filmed last month by a woman standing on top of the roof of their home, observing an unusual flying object. To that end, in the video, the object is described as a ball of some sort with two long strings or a belt hanging from it. The strings had knobs in the middle and the bottom. As for what the oddity could have been, some have suggested that it could have been a kite or a drone, or the predominant theory put forward by viewers online is that it's some kind of balloon. Folks, I got to tell you, I think that might be the case, but we never know. Possibly one of the other scientific equipment attached to it. You know that old weather balloon from Roswell story? Yeah, maybe it's come back. Others have expressed skepticism over the explanation by arguing that Chicago's famously windy conditions would have had more effect on the object than is seen in the video. What is your best guess for what was caught on film? Amanda, let's roll that tape.
I've never been more stressed watching someone else videotape something. We've already gotten out of view range, but it's like, okay. What is that? Wait, no, let's think logically about this. What is that? Yeah, that doesn't look normal. It's not normal at all. What is that? I don't know if I should be concerned or not. Okay, wait, let's think logically about this. I swear to God, it's changing shape.
Wow. A drone? A balloon? An alien craft? I don't know. You got to check the evidence and then you guys decide. Cookie, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I just love their commentary. That just makes me giggle. I could listen to them all day. It's impossible to tell for me because there's so much cloud cover. What could that be attached to that is maybe hovering just above the clouds? Maybe some kind of balloon gone awry. I mean, it does look like it should be kind of a windy day, and it didn't appear to be moving. It's very odd, but I couldn't make a call on this because I can't see what it could be attached to. What do you think?
Katie?
I love the commentary too. Not normal at all. I think it might be some like weather experiment or something, some barometers taking temperatures. I don't know. I think it's man-made, but it is very unusual. I've never seen anything quite like it.
If it's a weather balloon, it certainly is not the kind I've seen before. And I've seen some weather balloons, they're very big up on the top, and they'll have, a long drawn thing, trailing. This is a little different. So the jury's still out for me. Not sure. And Chicago is famous for their UFO sightings with O'Hare Airport and everything else. So I don't know, but we'll look at it more and we'll find out.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
To cap off this fantastic little time here, we're going to do a person of interest. And I got to tell you, the person of interest today is very startling. Amanda, would you do our intro? All right, so our person of interest this week is Dr. John Brandenburg. Dr. John Brandenburg is a plasma physicist working as a consultant with Morningstar Applied Physics and a part-time instructor of astronomy, physics, mathematics at Madison College in Madison, Wisconsin. During the Reagan years, he worked as a Mission Research Corporation and Sandia National Laboratories on SDI, the Reagan Star Wars. He was involved with all that. And of course, plasmas for controlled fusion and direct energy weapons. He was on top of all that. He earned a PhD at plasma physics at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory while working on controlled fusion. He has worked at the Clementine mission to the moon, rock and plume interactions on the moon and Mars, theory of rocket engine design, and the theory of field unification for the purpose of advanced space propulsion. He is the principal inventor of the MET microwave electrothermal, a plasma thruster using water propellant for space propulsion. Listen, folks, I don't even know what I just said, but I gotta tell you, this guy he's above my pay grade, so I kind of want to listen to him. Dr. Brandenburg has authored the popular science book Life and Death on Mars. Beyond Einstein's unified field and Dead Mars, Dying Earth, he's also written a science fiction novel named Morning Star Pass, The Collapse of the UFO Cover-Up. One of the things, it's kind of funny because one of the things Dr. Brandenburg always said to me, he says, Chris, we used to hang around the water cooler and talk about all those pesky gray aliens. What are we going to do about them? And I go, what? He says, yeah, they're pesky. He says, we couldn't stand them at one time. Okay. Dr. Brandenburg has claimed and has presented proof of a nuclear catastrophe on Mars. In his discovery, Dr. Brandenburg presented strong evidence for a dead civilization on Mars. The reason for his demise, an ancient planetary scale nuclear massacre, leaving isotopic traces of at least 2 vast explosions that destroyed the planet. Mars was once Earth-like in climate, with an ocean, rivers, and for a long period became home to both plant and animal life, including a humanoid civilization. Then, for unknown reasons, a massive thermal nuclear explosion ravaged the centers of the Martian civilization and destroyed the biospheres of the planet. But the story does not end there. The fact that the cosmos seemingly so fertile with planets suitable for life is as silent as a graveyard. And we must send astronauts to Mars to maximize our knowledge and what happened there and learn how to avoid Mars' fate. So what is Dr. Brandenburg talking about? Check out this short video of him and see what he's actually telling us. Amanda?
So you can run a fingerprint. Depending on the relative abundances of these isotopes, you can run a fingerprint and figure out what has happened on that planet, especially as far as nuclear things, because of the xenon. And as I found out when I was investigating this finally, I started out investigating the dark secrets of Mars, and I ended up finding the dark secrets of Earth. Here is Mars xenon versus Earth xenon. Earth is in blue. You can see they overlay very well for the isotopes 132, 134, etc. But at 129, Mars has 2.5 times more xenon 129 than the Earth does. And by the way, it has this, you could put any other planet up there and it would look the same. Mars is different from every other planet. It has this big load of xenon 129. And sadly, this is weapons signature. And the way we know that is because of this xenon 129, because of the testing of nuclear weapons and the production of plutonium. This requires fast neutrons. Mars' atmosphere is so thin that when we orbit probes around Mars, we can actually see gamma rays through the surface. And we find that Mars' surface is covered with a thin layer of uranium and thorium. We also find, we know it's a thin layer. If you look there, there does appear to be a burn spot. But whatever happened left no craters. There is no crater there. There should be a big hole blasted in the surface, but there's nothing. This means whatever happened was an airburst. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were airbursts. They did not explode the bombs above in midair for humanitarian reasons at Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Not only that, it was recently revealed that the areas where the radioactive activity occurs, here's Utopia, here's Matter Acidalium, is covered with a peculiar glass called trinitite. It's found at the nuclear test site, and it's formed by a nuclear fireball above a desert. So did they do it to themselves, or did somebody else do it? And that is the big question now. These explosions on Mars were not natural. There is no known natural phenomenon. Therefore, the simplest hypothesis we can come up with is somebody apparently, Mars was like Earth, it became the home of a intelligence and finally a civilization, and then someone else came along and apparently destroyed them with massive nuclear weapons. And as I said, we informed the Pentagon, and they said publish. We used to think we were the most evil creatures in the cosmos. It turns out that was just conceit. Somebody has already done deeds of evil on Mars that we couldn't even comprehend. When somebody who constantly, lies continually till you start speaking the truth to you, be afraid. Be very afraid. We must be in worse trouble than we thought.
Wow. I have to tell you, I've had several conversations with Dr. Brandenburg. We became friends over the phone, and we've talked, and I spoke about another topic as we discussed that was so frightening that it kept me up that night when we talked about it, thinking about it. And I got to tell you, I faced some of the baddest people in the world, but this was scary that I couldn't even sleep that night because he put this thought in my head, thinking about what happened to Mars here and stuff. But you know what? That's our person of interest. He's a great man. Cookie, what do you think?
Well, so yeah, that level of xenon is obviously super suspicious. I did wonder if there's any way it, could be there naturally. I mean, from what I understand, it's very rare and it would normally only be found in trace amounts. If there's any kind of natural cause for that level, I certainly don't know what it is. I think the trinitite is really suspicious, that kind of glass that forms. But I wondered if like dust and sand and lightning on Mars could possibly cause small amounts of that. Again, he's way smarter than me, way more educated, and he knows a lot more about this than I do. But I'm just trying to think if there's any other explanation. And then I think finally he's suggesting that someone else did this to them. If they were anything like we are, I think it's more likely they did it to themselves. But
here's his theory of what he said. It is said that xenon 129 can only be produced by a nuclear fusion. Mm-hmm. He says in that amount that they found, it's not a natural thing to find that amount unless there's a nuclear explosion. And the amount they're able to look at it and judge that there were 2 nuclear explosions on Mars. Now, the reason he says that the possibility that they didn't do it to themselves is because if it was something that happened there would be a crater. But you don't get craters with air bursts. Yeah. So something had to go up. Now, could they have had a huge nuclear war there? And he said there's always that possibility, which other people have suggested with Mars civilization. But also, the scary thing that he said was, suppose somebody came along and just said, you know what? We don't like these people. We don't like this experiment. Let's just take them out. Cookie, Katie?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I know that that's been a theory for a long time, the nuclear war on Mars, and that perhaps we're all Martians and that. And, I think I had mentioned it in previous programs that I collected Mars rover and Google moon images for MUFON and the SOMA project, it was called, Space Moon Mars Objects Anomalies. And there was hundreds of pictures that would come into MUFON. And there was one from the Mars, I think it's called the JPL. And yeah, this image right here. And this was the one that caught my attention. I thought it was really unusual. It looks, because they're so evenly spaced and they look almost like little fence posts, and that I wish I had more time to research this more closely. And I did play around with the Google Mars last night and just to see how close you can zoom in and that stuff. So I don't know, perhaps there is some truth to that, once Mars was populated and there was a nuclear war. I just hope that we don't repeat the same thing here on Earth. And
that's what Dr. Brandenburg said. He says, we hope that we don't do the same thing. And this is a man who had a higher than a top secret clearance, worked on the most advanced propulsion systems that the U.S. government was working on. was a weapons expert, and he discussed all this with weapons experts, and they agreed with his theories. So, I mean, he not only did the research on this, but he actually went to other scientists, and they kind of concluded almost the same thing.
Wow.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Thanks for giving me nightmares for Christmas, Chris.
Well, I just wanted to share my nightmare when he told me all this. I mean, I didn't expect it either. Yeah, hey, that's pretty great for the holiday season.
Oh,
my goodness. So back to the holiday spirit. Instead of case of the week this week, I actually thought, wouldn't it be interesting to look to see if MUFON ever got a report on Christmas Eve night of like Santa and his reindeer? So I went into CMS and look, lo and behold, out of Alvarado, Texas, 11:30 at night, case 112892, December 24th, Christmas Eve night. They caught this photo of Santa and his reindeer. So I thought that was a lot of fun. So check that out.
I see Rudolph. I totally see that.
Yeah, I see that too. We caught him. MUFON caught him.
Go MUFON.
So that's pretty funny. Yeah. So let's see. I think, Katie, you went to a holiday party in Tennessee. Is that right?
Yeah, so I thought for chapter news this week, we could highlight Tennessee MUFON because I went to their holiday party. It was a lot of fun. And well, I made a whole little video because you know me, I like to make videos. So Amanda, Can you roll that?
Awesome.
A couple weeks ago, the MUFON Tennessee chapter gathered just south of Nashville for their first ever holiday party and to discuss the upcoming Field Investigator Training Academy.
First, thank you very much for showing up for our first annual Christmas party. But one of the things we wanted to showcase is a piece that Josh put together that gives a little blurb about the new Tennessee MUFON Field Investigators Academy that will be starting this April. Josh, if you would, let's take a look at it.
Tennessee MUFON Field Investigator Academy. Coming to the Great Smoky Mountains. An experience like no other. The Academy is open to anyone. And will take place in April of 2022. Attendees will learn all kinds of skills. Drone skills for the investigator, USO diver investigation, advanced scene investigation, radiological monitoring, how to conduct an investigative interview. Tennessee MUFON Investigators Academy. Go to tnmufon.org and sign up today.
Put the word out there. We're really excited. This is going to be an annual thing.
And then next year, you know, we'll take what we've learned this year and we're just going to make the next year even better. It's just going to be something we're going to grow on over and over. So we're really, really excited.
And after completion of the academy, is one then a MUFON field investigator? The program is not designed to certify a person as a field investigator, but it does prepare them to take the field investigator's course.
Being state director at Tennessee MUFON has been a very, very fun ride this year. But we've grown, we've met challenges, we've hit them head on, but it's because of the team. Ed has been an invaluable resource. I mean, Ed's he's got the academy going. The academy is Ed's. He has taken it and ran. You know, you can't ask for a better assistant state director. Kurt Gill is the chief investigator for Tennessee. Now, a couple months in a row, we've got our CMS ranking, which is our database that all of our reports go in. And the international grades us every month on how we do. And we have been 100% now for a couple months running. And it's people like that that makes this chapter what it is. And we feel that we are building on what Angelia left us. You know, and I think that's what drives us to be able to do, you know, what we're doing.
Then it was time to hand out some hardware.
We've got a couple awards that we want to give out. We have a Field Investigator Trainee of the Year. She's been with us now for a few months. She was ready to certify right out of the gate. And that award is going to go to Ms. Sherry. this year's 2021 Investigator of the Year.
We're a unique organization, but we wouldn't be anything, not a darn thing, without our members and our field investigators. The first case that the Tennessee chapter ever put on the CMS system was back in 1989. Since that time, the chapter has completed 1,631 cases.
Whew, they've been a busy chapter. Don't forget to visit tnmufon.org to find out more about the Training Academy. Hey, we're back.
Awesome video. Awesome.
There was kind of a long end of that video. Yeah, that was really fun. We had so much fun. And I'm really excited about that training academy that they're doing. I think it looks really, really good.
Are you planning on going, Katie? Oh, sorry.
It's the first time I ever seen a dive actually working with divers and stuff for MUFON. They have dive teams, but to actually offer that at the academy is absolutely fantastic.
Agree.
Yeah,
Are you planning on going, you guys?
I would love to. So yeah, I think I may do it. What about you? Do you think you would? I mean, do you need any more training? You're like already so well trained. I don't know.
Drone training and the dive training. And Chris, are you going to go too? I would love to go to that.
Yeah, I'm very much seriously thinking about going because you can never get enough training in this field. There's always something new that's going on, something new that we're working with. I mean, we have drones here in New York that we use. John Lombardo, who's the chief investigator, has gotten into drones a lot and doing that. We don't have a dive team, but if we have more divers like this, I think it will make us only stronger. And of course, you learn about the laboratories that MUFON has and some of the other special things that we do. And it's all good.
Yeah.
And you get to meet more people. Yeah, that'd be fun. Thanks for putting that together.
Yeah, I think somebody's dog wants to go to this training academy. Whose dog is barking?
I don't know. Maybe it might be mine. My puggle may want to eat for the 6th time today, so I'll have to
take me to the MUFON boot camp.
Yeah. Right, Chris, did you catch up with Bob this week for international news?
Did. Bob Spearing, once again, the international director, is doing a fantastic job, and. Well, Amanda, roll the video. Let's see what he's got.
Hi, everybody. This is Bob Spearing. I'm MUFON's Director of Investigations International. I'd like to thank Chris for letting me come on again this week. And I'd like to introduce another video that we got from a case. This case, like last time, is from an airplane taken above cloud level, very high, of a plane that seems to be standing still in the air. And we've gotten reports like this before. It's very intriguing to watch. Happened over in Nepal, and I'm going to let Chris play the video, and then we'll discuss it once he's done. Chris, roll the video. Okay, this video should be Field Investigator 101. It's a little girl says, "Look, the airplane isn't moving." Very intriguing because it looks like it's not moving. Actually, at one point, it looks like the airplane is flying backwards. There's a very, very simple, very logical explanation for this, is that both planes were flying at approximately the same speed, with the airplane from which the object was being filmed was traveling slightly faster. Both aircraft are on Flight Radar 24. This is just a case of airspeed matching for two aircraft, making it look like it was an aircraft standing still. Again, nothing to see here, folks. Move along. IFO, case closed. This is Bob Spearing. Thanking Chris again for letting me share this video, this case with you today, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Take care.
Okay.
All right. He's good.
You know, part of what he does is he takes the cases and he wants to teach us what to look for. So when we do find a real case, it's a genuine real case.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that, because I felt compelled to tell our viewers, like, he's not always going to get on here every week and be like, there's nothing to see ever. Well, there is, or we wouldn't be doing this. But he's really helping to train us, and he's showing us what it's like to be a real investigator, right? You guys know, I'm just learning still, but very often it is going, no, here's what it actually is. And he is pretty much, one of the best at doing that. So definitely.
Well, I have a special treat. I got to meet Ken Jordan, the state director out of Texas, and he is a retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, and he was the head of the Army's Future Weapons Program. That's a big deal and stuff to be able to do that. And he was a skeptic, and he joined MUFON to find out if it's the real deal or not. And he became the state director, and he stopped being a skeptic and started being a believer. And he made a short videotape about ERT and some of the cases he's worked on. And it's actually, some of it's quite funny. Amanda, would you roll that?
How you doing? This is Ken Jordan. I'm the state director for MUFON in Texas, and I appreciate the chance to talk to you. Well, I guess you want to know a little bit about myself. I got started with MUFON, interested in ufology, while I was still on active duty for the Army. In fact, that's how I got started. While I was on active duty, I was working to develop the future combat systems. And in the process of doing that, I became acquainted with the secret space program, which I didn't really believe at the time. I wanted to find out what the truth was. That moved down the road until I got approached by MUFON to join them, and I did. And I found out the secret space program was in fact real. But in the process of doing my investigations, I had a number of cases that came to me that involved people who thought they had been abducted, thought they had been visited, thought they had little alien creatures in their bedroom. So I would reach out to MUFON's Experiencer Resource Team, which is unique to MUFON. And those who don't know who MUFON is, the Mutual UFO Network, we're the oldest continuous UFO research and reporting organization in the world. And part of MUFON is the Experiencer Team, which I happen now to be a member of. But back when I was just a lowly field investigator, I would have people come to me with their abduction experiences, and I would listen to their story, and I would research their needs, became somewhat acquainted with the phenomenon and the situation. And after asking the ERT for help for like almost 2 years, Kathleen Martin, who was the director for ERT at the time, called me and asked me if I would actually join the team. So back in 2018, early in 2018, I joined the team and became a caseworker for MUFON's Experiencer Resource Team. And that has been an eye-opening experience. not only do I get a chance to work with people who think they've been abducted, I get to answer a lot of my own questions and doubts through their testimonies. But, you know, I love the work because I like working with people and I like helping people where I can. And most of the people that contact the ERT truly believe they do have an experience that they can't explain. And what's nice about the MUFON ERT, it gives those people some place to come and tell their story and talk to us without being judged, which is hard to do because some of the earlier experiences when I was an investigator were people who had an experience and in fact did go crazy because nobody believed their story. They had nobody to talk to. And the ones they did talk to scoffed them and laughed at them and didn't take them seriously. And I know now that this phenomenon is real. People are being visited and taken. I've had a large number of cases that have come my way since 2018. Everything from the funny to the sad. And it's really rewarding to be able to work with these people and help them come to some resolution with their experience. One person actually came to me early in my ERT experience, and this is the one that I had the hardest time accepting. It was a lady up in the Dallas area whose boyfriend she had been with for like 2 years. And she was over at his house one day and interrupted him. And I don't think he knew she was there. Came into the bedroom and he was a reptilian. He was in his natural reptilian form. And of course, it scared the bejesus out of her. She ran out of the room, ran out of the house, and never went back. Contacted MUFON and me and told me her story. And I didn't believe in shape-changing reptilians at that time. But because of her and my involvement with one of our ERT supporter is a gentleman by the name of Les Velez, who is one of the co-founders of one of the paranormal organizations, helped me through it. And I became to believe that the shape-changing reptilians were real. I worked with this lady for several months, and to make a long story short, I asked her if she wanted to be separated from the situation. And she said, no, I really love this guy. And when I followed up with her a year later, they were married. And that was very strange to me. So we have contact type cases that we work with, like the reptilian boyfriend. We have one that, funny. We get the really funny ones. The funniest one I can remember is a gentleman who contacted me by phone, and he was confused. He didn't know what to do. He was an experiencer, had been abducted. Apparently, this gentleman had become part of the aliens hybridization program. They were using him to father extraterrestrial human offspring. And they would come and abduct him, take him to an unknown location, probably on a craft someplace, and use his genetic material to propagate a hybrid. It's not uncommon for these people that are being abducted, whether they be men or women, to have a hybrid handler or an extraterrestrial handler. In this case, this gentleman actually fell in love with his handler. Apparently a somewhat beautiful alien. When I asked him if he wanted to break off the relationship, and I could help him with that, he said, oh, absolutely not, because I think I'm in love with this person. So I don't know whatever became of that one, but that was kind of funny. So we do have those type of strange things that come to us with MUFON. I'm sure the other investigating agencies experience the same type of experiences. But I will tell you, for the most part, our ERT deals with individuals who will wake up in the middle of the night and standing around their bed are 3 short gray aliens and sometimes a 4th taller gray alien. And they will experience a contact experience or actually feel like they've been abducted and taken to someplace where they've been examined.
We need him on to talk
He
to.
is amazing. One of the things he told me was, I asked him, I says, do you know anything about plasma energy? He says, Chris, we were playing with plasma guns back in the 80s. And I went, what? He says, oh, yeah, we were playing with all that sci-fi. If you can imagine it, we've been working on it.
I love it.
Great
and
guy.
the reptilian boyfriend story, that's so crazy. But I mean, aliens need love too, right? I mean, just because he's a reptilian doesn't mean you gotta leave him, I guess. I'd be out. I'm sorry. I'd be like, I'm not fooling with a lizard. I can't.
Maybe he's a great cook. I don't know. I can't see myself dating a reptilian, but hey, you never know.
You know, and we want to keep this family friendly, but I've heard they're great lovers. I'll just put it out. That's what people say. I don't want to find out. That is. I know. I'm sorry. I had to go there. But you always
the holiday
season.
That. Now you put that thought in my mind. I can't get it out now. Oh my God.
Well, I know it's so bad, but but hey, they deserve love too. But I could listen to him talk all day. I think he's got amazing stories, and we definitely need to have him on. But what he said that broke my heart is that before the ERT, there's so many people that go crazy because they had nobody to talk to about this stuff, and that just hurts my heart to think of anybody. I know that still happens, but guys, the ERT is there, and they're just one of many groups that want to help you. So reach out.
I'll tell you one thing he said to me. He won't tell me his source, but he said to me, he says, Chris, remember when the astronauts first landed on the moon, and supposedly they reported that there was that blackout time, and supposedly they were talking about that they're watching us, meaning the aliens. And I said, yeah, I remember that. He goes, that wasn't aliens. He says, that was us.
Huh?
Remember the story about the moon? Yeah. He says that wasn't aliens watching on the other crater of the moon. He says that was us. He says that was the secret space program. We had it even back then.
Right. That long ago? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it boggles the mind.
That's what he says. Yeah. And I don't know his source. He won't tell me his source.
Yeah. Well, okay. We definitely need to get him on, talk to him. Yeah. Wow. Well, I have a book recommendation this week. I think we have enough time to get that in before the break. You guys ready to hear about that?
I'm dying to hear about it.
So this is this is a great friend of mine, Rebecca Hardcastle Wright, PhD. She is such a cool woman. She's actually got a few books available. Let's go ahead and show you the covers of the books before I roll this video. One is Exoconsciousness, Your 21st Century Mind. And there we go. We got a picture. That's Rebecca right there. She also has Exoconscious Humans, Will Free Will Survive in an Increasingly Non-Human World? She also has How Exoconscious Humans Guide Our Spacefaring Future. I caught up with Rebecca a couple of years ago, actually, to discuss exoconsciousness, what it is, what it means for humanity. And I just thought this would be a great way to get you guys turned on to her book. So Amanda, will you roll that, please?
We define exoconscious as the innate human ability that all humans have. So it's an innate human ability to connect, communicate, and most importantly now, co-create with extraterrestrials and multidimensionals. Co-creation is really the standard of our institute. We believe that we as experiencers aren't in some kind of a subordinate slave relationship with extraterrestrials, but that there's a part of us that's connected to this consciousness field, and we just happen to be on Earth in a 3D body. But as a conscious being, we are peer-to-peer with them. Exoconscious humans, the human part is the most important part. And sometimes if it does feel like I've been abducted or I've been, taken against my will, that part of the evolvement as you evolve into an exoconscious human is that you take responsibility for the fact that you probably created that relationship. Maybe before you came in, maybe now on Earth as a human, but that there's something in your resonance and in your being, whether it's spiritual or physical even, that you have a connection with who was attracted to you. We've learned as humans more about trauma than we ever knew before, and I work professionally in the field of trauma. And one of the things that you touch upon when you go into this whole field of extraterrestrials and owning the fact that you are co-creating with them, that you are maybe even initiating this communication, that there's part of you in your consciousness and in your being that's bigger than what you're conscious of, that is participating in. What we've learned about trauma is that eventually, in order to heal, you have to own the part that you're continually recreating that trauma because you don't want to be conscious of it. Mm-hmm. And even John Mack talked about that. He said, when I would work with clients, then I would see them moving from, oh, I can't talk about it, or I've never talked about it, to now I'm discussing what happened to me, and I'm owning it, and I'm living in it, and I'm seeing that it's not a trauma. And so now I don't have to recreate my trauma. I mean, some experiencers are traumatized, and we all do it as humans. It's not just experiences, but they need to work through the trauma, or else they'll keep re-traumatizing themselves. Right. It's like somebody's surveilling me, there's black helicopters, all these horrible things are happening to me. And we in the Institute say, settle down, calm down your central nervous system. You don't have to be on high alert your whole life. Right. You can calm down and you can integrate what's happening. And as in the Institute, we say we're sovereign human beings. I can choose to have a relationship with this extraterrestrial or multidimensional or not. That's the power of peer-to-peer, is that as sovereign humans, we have the power to do that. Exoconscious humans are going to change so many sectors of society. We're going to change technology. We're going to change, for sure, healing. We're going to change art. We're going to change communication. And we're for sure going to change education, how people learn. I mean, we come from a sector of people that learn through downloads. I mean, what if everybody started learning through downloads? Yeah. We're the only species that agreed to incarnate with all of this in the 3D. Those ethereal beings haven't done that. We're doing that. And that's an important assignment. I saw that exoconscious humans were a CE6. The CE, the close encounter, was developed by Alan Hynek, and he did one through 3, and then CE4 was Jacques Vallée, and he went into what was the conscious reality that was changed, and he went into dreaming, hallucinations, ancient folklore, the whole consciousness schematic, looking at a reality piece. And then Stephen Greer did CE5. There's many CE5 groups today, and they go out, they look at the stars. They're mostly outward centered learning. There's a protocol, and the protocol is in the sky, and it's about mutual exchange with a craft in the sky. And then I knew that CE6 was to be exoconscious humans, because it's looking in instead of out. A lot of experiencers don't want to be here. Mm-hmm. That's just a fact. I mean, if you ask them, in a one-on-one, many of them would say, I don't want to be on Earth. I don't know why I chose this. I don't fit in. This is really a lot harder than I ever thought it was going to be. When I look at the stars, or when I, connect with my ETs, that's my home. Mm-hmm. I didn't connect with my family. I connect with my cosmic family. There's a lot of dissociation going on. So I think we humans, especially exoconscious humans, we see differently. We probably see a different spectrum of information. with the ETs and the multidimensionals, we also are now consciously uploading information to them. Because as humans evolve and change through this process of exoconsciousness, the ETs and the multidimensionals are changing too.
Do we have anything they need besides
Absolutely.
samples and genetics?
Absolutely, because we're entangled with them in this whole quantum field of the mind. And it's kind of like in a family. It's like if you have young children, they teach you. And sometimes we need that teaching more than ever from them. And I think it's the same thing with humans and ETs and multidimensionals, because their mind and the expanse of their mind expands as ours does. They need us just like we need them.
Isn't she cool?
She is awesome.
Yeah.
I just love her. She's such a smart woman, and she's just got so much experience with this. She's another one I would really love to have on the show, and I highly recommend her books. And she's so much smarter than me. Every time I'm around her, I'm just like,
she is a wealth of information.
She really is, and she's just a really cool person. And she's out in Phoenix, so I tried to see her whenever I'm out that way. But yeah, she'd be a great person to have on.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much to dive into there. It'll take a whole show just to talk to her for sure.
Absolutely. So, you know, one of the things she said, and she's right on the money on it, is the word consciousness. Ufology is starting to go toward consciousness. You hear people like Eric Davis mention it. Ben Rich mentioned it. Other ufologists have mentioned it. And it's coming more and more prevalent, the word consciousness, as far as crafts, as far as communication and things of that nature. So I think she's right on the right track. And boy, I'll tell you, you can listen to her for hours.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And that trauma piece, too, that she talked about so much. So, you know, we're right up against the break. Stay with us, everybody. We have an amazing guest coming to you clear from the UK, Jack Turnbull. So hang in there, and we will see you after the break.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button, so just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Amanda, it is time. So our guest this week, Jack Turnbull. Jack is a prominent UFO investigator, born in Edinburgh, Scotland during the Second World War. Jack's first encounter with the unknown took place in 1957 at the age of 15, when him and two others saw a white disc shoot across the sky at speeds no human technology could achieve. This was the start of a 50-year journey observing, researching, and learning about the unknown. Jack is now the chief UK investigator for MUFON and a worldwide effort to investigate UFO sightings. He is looking for the smoking gun, a term he defines as definitive, absolute, irrefutable proof of UFO and ET existence. Jack, a retired salesman, resides in the city of Carlisle, Cumbria, with his wife. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Welcome, Jack. Welcome to the show. So glad you can make it here.
Hi.
What time is it there in England?
Just coming up 8:10.
Pretty late. Anyway, so happy holidays to you. And I would really just like to kick off by asking you to tell us about your 1957 encounter when you were 15.
Okay. I was 15 years of age. I lived in the south part of Edinburgh, an area that was pretty hilly, quite high up. Edinburgh lays in a valley, so this was sort of outside of Edinburgh, and it was raised a bit on the edge of a mountain range. The day in question, I think it was a Sunday, mid-morning, around 11 o'clock. I'd gone for a walk with my dog. Beautiful day, cloudless sky, azure blue, clear as a crystal. There wasn't a cloud anywhere. And I'm walking across a main road, which was called Captain's Road, heading towards an industrial estate. They were building a new housing estate called Gracemount. And I was about to cross the road and go into the estate where they were building houses. There were guys working and joiners and brickies and stuff hanging about. And as I crossed the road, I can't remember whether I looked up first and I saw the object or whether the two guys on the roof, joiners, saw it first. But one of them exclaimed, "Look, there's a flying saucer," his actual words. And I looked up, and we all looked up, and there we could see coming from the southeast to the northwest across the sky diagonally a white disc. Now, I should explain that this was not a pinprick of light reflecting something that might have been a round disc. This was a round disc. Now, it was high up. It was luminous, white, prominent against the blue background. I might guess at the time, I estimated this would be a guess, out of an airliner, probably 35,000 feet. The size of the object, and again, I guessed around about 30 to 50 feet in diameter, clearly defined, and it went right across the sky and cleared the sky in about, I don't know, a minute and a half. Now, in the sky, and part of the sky in another direction, there was a plane flying. So I was kind of able to gauge the speed of this craft on the basis of the plane I was looking at. And I estimated, this is my guess again, around about 1,000 miles per hour. Now, in 1957, when this occurred, regarding scrap metal floating around this planet, objects, there wasn't any except for one. There was only one object sailing around space outside this planet, and that was the Russian satellite called the Sputnik. And the Sputnik was 23 inches in diameter. So what I saw wasn't the Sputnik. So you can make of that what you will. But that started me off on my journey anyway.
Jack, I'd love to know, did you immediately tell everybody that would listen, or did you feel like I have to keep this to myself? I mean, I know attitudes at that time, a lot of people would have thought I've got to keep this to myself, but you were very young. So what did you do next after you had that sighting?
Well, I very quickly learned that to tell people about this, you were going to become humiliated. So I sort of withdrew a little bit and sort of kept a lot of it to myself and approached it very carefully. I came across very quickly that to tell people about this was to invite humiliation. So thus I kept pretty quiet.
Yeah, sure.
Jack, I want to get into some of your cases because you have done a lot of cases for MUFON. You've been around for a long time, much longer than I have. Because I'm a retired police officer, I want to talk to you about that retired case that you had in Wakefield, England, with the retired cop. there.
Okay.
Can you tell us about that?
I won't tell you his name because I'll keep that disclosed, but I'll tell you the incident. Yeah. He's a very nice guy. I went down to Wakefield to see him, and we put cameras on and we interviewed him, and we filmed it actually. This is the story he gave that day, and highly credible. He'd been out. This happened in I can't remember now. It was the 1980s, I think. He was out patrolling in one of the suburbs of Wakefield, fairly quiet area. About 3 o'clock in the morning, in his police car, it was a Rover Defender, fairly characteristic, big, sort of cumbersome-looking vehicle. But it's characteristic. It's got a very straight windscreen. Well, most windscreens are kind of tilted slightly at an angle. This is straight up. Anyway, he's out there about 3, 4 in the morning, and he's watching a guy in the dark. He's watching a guy who's behaving kind of suspiciously, and he's got his eye on him, and he's wondering what he's going to do next, and he's going to take steps if necessary. When all of a sudden, he notices directly in front of him, estimate about 3 miles away, a grassy area in a kind of a valley. He notices, he knows there's no houses there, any buildings of any kind. He notices that there's an object in the sky with a searchlight. It's beaming directly down onto the ground. And he immediately thinks, oh, that must be the air search rescue helicopter. He winds down his window and he listens for the noise of the blades, but he can't hear anything. And he thinks, okay, that's got to be what it is. But he rings into his HQ and he says, look, is the helicopter out tonight? I can see something in the field with a searchlight on it. Is it the helicopter? The guy said, no. He said, it isn't. He said, we've got it here. So he thinks, okay. And as soon as that happened, he said, the light went out on the helicopter. The light went out on this object, whatever it was, darkness. And he said, I suddenly knew instinctively something was coming towards me, but I couldn't see anything. Well, within about a minute, so it was very soon after, suddenly above his police car, bearing in mind there's no sort of sunroofs in the Defender, so he can't look up. The area was brilliantly lit by ultraviolet, right? Brilliant ultraviolet. It was so bright, it was blinding. He said he could have picked a pin off the ground. It was so clear. Something above him was shining this light down, ultraviolet, brilliant light. And now he was scared. He said, I was so scared, I didn't want to get out of the car. So I sat there for about a minute, and then suddenly his light went out, and it was in darkness again. So he jumped out of the car and looked up into the sky. And what he said he saw was a triangular object, huge. He said this thing was huge, 100 yards. It was very, very big. It's characteristically, it had 3-point lights on all points, white lights on the points, and a red light in the middle. And it began slowly moving away from him, just sort of drifting away across the sky. Now, you could see the shape of this against the dark sky because the object was darker than the sky, so you could see it. And it drifted away for, I don't know, several hundred yards, and it stopped. Then instead, it seemed to sort of move in a sort of very stinted fashion. It was jerking, as it went across to the left, then it went to the right, and then it suddenly began to drift away across the sky. Now, he was so affected by this, he got the car, he started up his car, and he began to follow it. Now, there's an area around there called the Peak District, which is extremely remote, very beautiful, but very remote. And he started to drive after this thing, trying to follow it, and he found himself in the middle of nowhere. And he suddenly became aware that, hell, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, and this object could be anywhere. I don't know what the hell it is. It's certainly strange. Maybe I should get the hell back. So he headed back, and he went back to HQ, and he checked, and he found out in due course that 2 other policemen out on duty that night had seen the blue light reflecting, but they hadn't seen the object. But he swore blind that was true, and for what it's worth, I believed him, every word of it, absolutely.
Wow. That is so cool that there were multiple witnesses. A couple questions. What year was that again? And was there any missing time reported with that? That is a really awesome case.
I did ask him that question, in fact, and I think it was 1982. I can't remember the year. I could check it. I've got records, but I haven't brought them with me. But it was about early 1980s, I think. But he did. I'm pretty sure at the time he was highly believable. This guy, very. He was emotional about it. You could tell. You can just tell. There's a moment you're talking to somebody when you can just, Chris, you'll know this anyway. There's a moment when you talk to somebody and you make contact with their eyes and you just know it's the truth. Eh? It's a gut thing.
Oh, absolutely. Jack, let me just piggyback on that. Do you get a lot of cops there talking to you, maybe even off the record? Because here we get a lot of cops talking to us. They don't want to go on the record, but they'll talk to us off the record about their sightings.
A bit more guarded here, I think. But the fact is, funnily enough, I've got a rifle. I shoot on a shooting range, so I've got a rifle. And in the UK, they're very strict about rifles and firearms, which they should be, of course, because you've got to have a strict permits and there's very strict control placed on these things. And the firearms officer comes to visit you at least once a year just to make sure everything's in order. Now he arrived, this guy, he's an elderly policeman. He's coming up for retirement. And he said, I realized, he said, I believe you're involved in UFO research. I said, that's right. I said, don't start laughing. He said, I'm going to laugh. He said, to be honest with you, he said, I believe it. I said, how do you mean? He said, well, I was out on patrol with 2 other people. And he said, and I saw something in the sky. Again, it was a triangle he saw. And he said, I mean, no mistake, that wasn't from here. That's what he said to me.
I'm curious to know, in general, the attitude towards ufology in the UK versus America. I mean, our media is really starting to open up to it. Obviously, our government as well. I'd love your perspective there, how you're seeing attitudes change.
It's a really good question. When I started in 1957, my guess would be that if you're taking a census then, I would have said maybe out of 100 people, you might have got 1 person, maybe 2 at the outside, who would have even given us a hearing. Well, today, my guess is that if you did a census with 100 people, you're probably going to get over 50% are on the page. I think that's going to happen. That's the change that's taking place. Massive.
That's good.
Massive shift.
We like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
What about media over there? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Chris. Just
no, go
thinking
ahead,
about that. Has the media, I mean, because our media is just really getting on board.
Media is very controlled in one way or another, extremely censored. They call it the free press. I'm not sure it's that free, to be honest. That's my view.
Well, we're not sure about over here at times too. Sometimes I cringe when I see the news. Hey, but I want to talk about the Ministry of Defense there for a second, Jack, because they've sometimes come out and said, hey, you've recently, the MOD has released all these UFO files, and they said there's nothing really to see here. Is that correct?
Oh, there's so much crap. It's unbelievable.
And stuff. Is there something in the files, or was it just a waste of time, or what? I mean, what did you see in the files?
Well, I mean, I've looked at some of these files, and a lot of it's very strictly controlled. It's blacked out. There's only so much you can see. It's kind of like, I described this recently as trying to find a tree in a wood in a forest. You get all these files dumped under the Freedom of Information System, but trying to find the stuff that is relevant is very hard. It's laborious, it takes a lot of time, which means it's almost self-defeating to try to go through this stuff. But I don't need to go through the Ministry of Defense files to get any credit for this situation. They pale into insignificance for me. They have no consequence at all, none at all. There's far more pressing matters than them. They just don't even matter, really.
Wow, that's amazing for you to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Wow. So do you guys have like an equivalent of the ERT team there, or do you deal with experiencer, abductees and things like that?
Funnily enough, we're looking for an ERT man at the moment. I've had the man in charge of ERT in touch, and we're trying to get a UK person to volunteer and take it on, but at the moment they're struggling a bit. Nobody seems to want to do it, so I don't know. At the moment, nobody's in the role. Nobody's fulfilled that role yet.
Okay. Yeah, that's a sensitive area, that's for sure. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious. So I'm from England. My family's all from England. We're more from the West Country, Bristol. It's not that far from Glastonbury and Stonehenge. And I love that part of the world. To me, it feels very spiritual. And of course, we know all about the crop circles around there, which I actually do know one person there that made crop circles. And he's like, oh, they're all a hoax. But I truly don't think that they all are. But I'm just wondering, I don't feel like we get that. Not as many crop circles in America. We get some, but I would just love to get your take on that and how it could be connected, what your thoughts are.
For me, crop circles, I'm on the fence on this. I honestly don't know. I mean, the stories come out that seem highly credible, and others they contradict it. So I really don't know about crop circles. As far as the spiritual content of places like Stonehenge and sort of medieval circles, we get a lot of these in England. I don't know. I've got no idea whether there's a connection there at all. I kind of sidestep that as well, because for me, the way I'm coming at this, again, it's entirely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It's of no consequence to me at all. I've got far more pressing things I can look at.
I appreciate your honesty on that.
Yeah.
You know, Jack, I will tell you some crop circles are real. I've talked to an expert here in the United States who's researched them, Jennifer Stein, and she actually sent me photos of insects actually fused to the wheat. I mean, it's not like they're just attached. They actually become part of the wheat. They're fused to it, and they go right through the shaft of the wheat. Flies, insects of that nature after a crop circle is made. I mean, obviously some of them are a hoax. There's no question about that. But anyways, you have information on one of the most famous cases in the UK, and that's the Solway spaceman, the Jim Templeton case. Let's talk about that, because you know that one is really top of the line with that photograph and everything.
Okay. Well, first of all, the person concerned in that, is a guy called Jim Templeton, right?
That's correct.
Let me recreate the scene then. Okay, so Jim Templeton was a guy who was an amateur photographer, played around with cameras a bit, didn't know a lot about them, but he knew a little bit. This particular day, he took a drive in his car with his daughter. She was about 6 at the time, 7 maybe. And they drove out to the west side of where I live, towards an area where there's stretch of water that comes in off the Irish Sea. It's called the Solway Firth. It's an estuary. And he drove into this area, which is pretty remote. It's very flat. There's not a lot to see. And he stopped his car at the appropriate place, and he placed her on the grass. He picked some buttercups and some daisies. He gave her a bunch of flowers to hold, and he said, right, I'm going to take a picture. And he took the picture, right, with a Kodak film, Kodak camera, I think. And he took the pictures and he sent them off for processing. And when they came back, there, the beautiful picture of his daughter holding the flowers, but at the back there was a man standing in a suit, unmistakable, with a black visor, helmet, the full head. It was that. He couldn't miss it. Now he thought, what the hell is that? So he then set the wheels in motion. He went to the Kodak. Everybody checked the film. It was proven to be 100%. So nobody could offer an explanation for this at all. Nobody. Now, funnily enough, a few weeks, I mean, the lid came off this. It went right across the world. Newspapers got hold of this story. It went across all the TV stations. It was big. He was getting a lot of attention, in fact, too much attention, to be honest. And anyway, he was on the hierarchy in a fire station. He was a fire officer. And he was pretty up the chain of command, and he was in the fire station this day. And one of his a guy came in and said, "Look, Jim," he said, "there's a couple of guys there's a guy to see you at the desk. He wants to see you." So Jim went down. This is the story he told me face to face. I have no reason to lie or exaggerate. I'm telling you exactly as it was. And he said to me, I went down to the desk, and there's this guy standing there in a suit, white shirt. I think he said black tie, and he just looked a bit sort of, I don't know what he said. He looked a little bit odd. He sort of, his presence was strange, but he said, "Okay, can I help you?" And he said, "Yep." He said, "You're the guy had the experience, took the photograph." He said, "Yes." He said, "Well, would you mind taking me out there to where you shot the photograph?" He said, "Well, look, I'm a fire officer. I can't just leave the job." Well, his boss was there. He said, "Well, Jim, how long are you going to be?" Well, Jim said, "Well, to drive out to this place is only about 6 miles." He said, "I'll be back in an hour." He said, "Okay, take an hour, drift off, take the guy, and go do your thing and come back. I need you back here." So he went outside, and there in the car, at the back of the car, there's another guy sitting there. And the guy's got, again, a dark suit, white shirt, black tie, I think. And he's sitting on the back. He didn't speak. He got in the car, passenger side. This other guy got on the driver's side at the front. And Jim was giving him directions towards this place where they're going to go and look at this site. Now, as he's driving there, the guy only spoke once. There was a Y4 here to negotiate, and the guy said, and Jim turned to the right where he's supposed to. And the guy said, "Is that the right way?" And Jim said, "Yep." And he headed out. He never spoke another word. He went out there and he crossed over an iron grid. There's a grid gate as you enter because it's to stop the cattle leaving there. There's lots of cattle grazing there. And these grid gates are to put up the cattle getting out. So he went over that. And he drove into this marsh area. And he pulled the car over and he said, that's where I saw, that's where I took the photograph. And the guy said to me, he said, look, he said, so that's where you saw the spaceman? And he said, no, I didn't see a spaceman. I didn't see anything. All I did was take a photograph. At that point, the guy turned around and walked towards the car. Now, there's kind of like the car was parked and there's like a bridge and there's a raised bit goes over a hill and you go down to a blind side on the other side. So he started the car and he drove over the top of the hill and he was out of sight of Jim on the other side of this dip. Jim figured he was going to turn the car on and come back and pick him up and take him back to the fire station. So Jim lit up a cigarette. He was browsing along waiting for this car to come by and it didn't come by. So he eventually went to the top of this raised part and he looked down and there was no car. The car wasn't there. He said, where the hell is the car gone? Well, if the car had driven straight on instead of coming back, it would have had to go through a very difficult area to negotiate. It wouldn't have made any sense to go that way. So Jim couldn't work out where the hell the car had gone. So now in a state of panic, he walked a couple of miles to get off the marsh and he went to a garage and he said, look, I'm a fire officer. I've got to get back to the fire station. He said, can you help me out? And the guy said, look, we'll take you in. And he drove him back. It now over 2 hours had gone by. When he got back, he was getting a lot of flack from his boss. But it was what it was. And Jim had no idea where the hell that guy went. He had no idea at all. No idea. And funnily enough, I went to see Jimmy Templeton because I knew him personally anyway. So I went to see him one day. I'd never been in his house. And the day I went, just at random, it was a Saturday, I went in and I sat there with his wife and him, and they both sat there. I'm going to get a photograph out for you. Have you seen the photograph, Chris? Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Numerous times.
Right, okay, because I won't bother, don't worry. So, okay, I'm sitting there in front of Jimmy Templeton and his wife, right? I'm sitting there. And all of a sudden, she looked at me and she gave me the strangest look. She gave me a really, really strange look. And she said, do you realize what day this is? And Jimmy said, no. She said, this is the date where the incident took place.
Wow.
And that is absolutely true. And I just thought, wow, I had no idea when the date was. He took a photograph and he signed his name on it for me and he dated it and he gave me it. I've got it in my drawer down there. I've got my
Jack, could you show us that photo?
Yeah, I'll dig it out now. Hold on.
Yeah.
Try and find it. It's amidst a lot of other stuff, so it might have been easy to find, but you never know.
Holy moly. Did he ever find out what happened to the vehicle? Did they ever?
Never had a clue, no.
Never had a clue. So are you thinking interdimensional or portal or, I mean.
Let's get to that in a minute.
Yeah, there's more to this story.
Plot thickens.
And that was not long enough, trust me. Anyway, I'm trying to find this photograph. I've got it here somewhere. But Murphy's Law will dictate I won't be able to find it, will I? That's what's going to happen.
Well, maybe while you're... Oh, go ahead, Katie. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I wonder if that location is like another one of these high strangeness locations. And I'm wondering, he mentioned cattle. I'm wondering if there's cattle mutilations over there.
No, I've never heard of any. But I'll tell you
interesting.
I'll tell you with this, it gets even stranger because sometime after that, Britain was trying to get into the space race. So it had a rocket called the Blue Streak. That was our answer to the space race. And it was being tested and built in the UK. But it was actually being tested in Australia, in Woomera, in Australia. Now, during that, they were ready to do a launch in Australia. This is a fact. You can take this to the bank. It's absolutely true. They're doing a test for this rocket, ready to launch it in Woomera, Australia. And they got down to the latter stages of the countdown, like sort of 5, 4, 3. And suddenly, on the monitors, they saw two figures near the rocket. It turns out that both the figures were actually dressed in identical garment wear to that figure that Jim Templeton photographed. Exactly the same. Now, they sent patrol cars speeding across to the rocket. When they got there, nobody was there. But the monitors who recorded them, they were there. That's supposed to be a fact. I believe that's a fact. Now, I'm trying to find this photo, this envelope, and It is Murphy's Law, but I'm not going to be able to find it there.
Well, while you're looking for that, I'm curious to know, we always talk about our hot spots here in America, if there are certain hot spots over there near military bases or near the water, or there's, I don't know, ley lines. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, very good question again. Good question. And we got hot spots here, and they tend to be where military are based. There's a connection between visitations and military. There's no doubt about that. There's absolutely no doubt at all. Wiltshire in southern England is a known hotspot. Yeah. I'm trying to find this thing while I'm talking to you, but I'm not having much luck.
Do you have thoughts on the Rendlesham case, Rendlesham Forest, Bentwaters?
Again, I would say to you, Rendlesham Forest is a very interesting case, actually. Considering the level of people who were giving evidence at the time. Colonel T. Holt was the deputy base commander, so you can't dismiss what he's saying. There were other people too who were saying the same thing. So in terms of credit, for me, it's got a lot of credibility, but then again, you get the contradictions, you get the misinformation. I mean, you get idiots coming out. I mean, these people got to have some kind of a subnormal brain. They're coming out and saying, oh, it was a lighthouse, right? A lighthouse? Because there is a lighthouse located about 6 miles away. But how in the name of hell does a lighthouse get a red light? Tell me. I'm trying to work that out.
Yeah.
I mean, in the forest, they're looking at a red light, like an eye blinking at them. But they're trying to tell you this was a lighthouse? A red light? Really? So in terms of, do I think it's got credibility? Yes, I do. But again, I repeat, in terms of real substance, there's better references than that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack, lights from lighthouses don't land in front of you. So that's
the truth,
one thing.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the theory that it's a lighthouse just went out the
but you get people saying it and they buy into this. It's crazy. You asked me about interdimensional. Can I follow that?
Well,
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Okay. Well, I'll put out a documentary. Chris has seen it. Okay, now it gives reference to 9 incidents spread across 3 countries, different people who don't know each other, and different times, etc. And they're all connected because they're all showing the same thing. But the first one is the most compelling. It's the one that sets the scene and it links up all the others, right? Now, I spoke to this guy. This is about 10 years ago. And I'll set the scene for this. This is a guy who's ex-military, he's ex-Air Force. He's living in Wiltshire, which is the hotspot area, right? Warminster, Wiltshire. Now he's down there. He's in a bungalow. He lives in a very rural area. There's no houses at the back of him. It's just a landscape right at the back. That's all you've got. And he's in the house this night. It's kind of 9 o'clock in the evening or thereabouts. It's dark outside, pitch black. And he notices in the sky a bright red dot. He thinks that's kind of strange. He keeps looking at it. He thinks a helicopter. Then he thinks no. Opens the window. Can't hear any rotary blades. It's not that far away. Excuse me, coffee. Anyway, he looks at this light. He thinks that's odd. So he grabs his phone. He starts to record it. And as he does that, the red light, the red dot, breaks into fragments in lots of like a firework exploding. Yeah, like lots of red bits. Okay. Now, out of the center of these red bits, there appears a tiny white thing that gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes, I describe it as a snowball. It's round, it's large. My guess, this is what I guess it would be. I think it was bigger, I don't know, bigger than a 747 or thereabouts jet. It was sizable. This object was white. It was luminous white. It was traveling horizontally from right to left across the landscape. I think it was probably, my guess would be 3-4 miles away. My guess would be below 5,000 feet. And it was traveling silently across the sky, keeping level with the landscape, level with the horizon, right? It traveled for about a minute. And then it did the loop. So it looped upwards, right? It looped up and it came across and then went back on the same trajectory. On the same level, it went back the same from left to right. Then it got to the end of its run there. It did another loop. It looped up, and it then was beginning to get smaller because there's bits spraying off the back of this. There's a long trail behind this thing. It's like a tail on this thing. Now it's spraying bits off, and it's getting smaller all the time. And eventually, it divided into two pieces. It became so small, it was now two connected, and the sprays coming off the two of them. Then suddenly it got so small, it just about disappeared. It vanished. And out of what was left, tiny last little fragments, there appeared a craft. Now, this craft is actually oval or round, and it's there. And if you look, you can see it on the film. It's got a single white light flashing on it, and it starts to float away across the sky very, very slowly. Yeah? Now, the significant thing about this object was that its color was vivid ultraviolet. Vivid ultraviolet. And it's floating across the sky. And he filmed all this. I've sent Chris the documentary. He's got the film. So you've seen it, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. Yep, I saw it. It's an amazing documentary that you did. Matter of fact, I think Cookie wanted to ask you a question about it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. So I got to see it too. Thank you for sharing that with us. So a couple years ago, I was on an investigation, and so I had never seen anything like this. I've been looking for craft in the sky for years. I've seen some weird lights and stuff. I've never seen any kind of solid object. But so it was late at night. I don't know what time. It was pitch black. And right above me, maybe at the height like a firework would be, lower than a plane, but not right over my head, silently. How do I describe it? It's almost like if on a chalkboard, you broke off a piece of chalk, and instead of using the pointy side to make a fine, line, you did more of a grainy, the chalk on its side. So it kind of had this grainy serpent-like it was just like this tail just of white light. There was no sound. It was right over my head. And of course, no one else saw it. And of course, I didn't have my camera rolling. I'm so mad. But I was so shocked at this. And I tried to find things online. I couldn't find anything similar. And then when I'm watching this documentary of yours and I'm seeing all these white lights, just this kind of like misty thing going across the sky. And I'm like, oh my God, that looks so much like what I saw. But I'd never seen that before. Is this a relatively new phenomenon? Is this kind of sighting older than I'm realizing?
Well, I can't give you an exact answer to that. I can only tell you that this goes back 10 years for the first of these sightings. It was 10 years ago, give or take. Now, the one that followed that was kind of odd, because within about 6 months or less, 5 months perhaps, a lady in Bolton, this is a place, it's in Lancashire, one of the counties in England, and she had lived in a council, it was like a housing estate she lived on, and there had been quite that's the one, and there'd been quite a number of burglaries in the area, right? So she thought, well, okay, I'm going to get a camera, halogen light, and I'm going to set up an alarm system just in case, so to protect the house. So she did that. Now, she'd gone off on holiday to Greece. She was in Greece at the time, but she'd linked the camera and its responses to her mobile phone. So she's sitting there in a taverna in Greece having a glass of wine, I guess, and suddenly the damn mobile clicks into action, and she's looking at the screen, and then she can see that the halogen light has gone on. So some kind of a rodent has moved around in the garden and it set the light off. But the camera starts to record, and at the same time, purely by coincidence, this damn thing comes into view. It's exactly the same as the Wiltshire one. It's exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
so it gets
so
even more
bright.
bizarre than that. So can I continue with that?
Yes, please.
So I'm thinking, crying out loud, this is bizarre. This is strange. Two different people don't know each other. They're miles apart. And this is the same damned object. It's exactly the same. So it's not a question of now, is it real? It's a question of now, what the hell is it? So now you suddenly find in a few months later, a guy is driving along the road in Cambridgeshire in southern England, right? It's a late evening, it's light time, it's not dark. And he stops his car at Benwick in Cambridgeshire, and he films the same snowball performing aerial feats across 3 fields, and he can see it. Now, when I sent the one to Chris, the first one you couldn't see a damn thing because it didn't pick up. The original I got was as clear as day from this guy, but when we were recording it, we lost a lot of the image for some reason. But that snowball was dead there. You could see it doing the aerial feats, going up and down. They eventually just spin into the clouds. So I'm thinking, this is getting really blooming bizarre. So suddenly then, 3 or 4 months later, in Somerset, southern England, there's a guy then filmed something going over the Mendip Hills. And that is even more bizarre. This thing is convulsing. It's firing out stuff all over the damn place. It's like plasma exploding. It's the same thing. It's this same thing. Well, we've got all these incidents covering America, Argentina. Sometimes there's multiple ones there during the day. There's one in Devon with two people, a lady watching two of these things doing aerial feats. I mean, they're all connected. Then I suddenly got, right out of the blue, I get a guy from Beaconsfield near London. Now, this is what he's doing. He's walking home from the gym. It's a very cloudy night. The cloud base is right across the sky. He's walking home and it's dark. And suddenly he notices an ultraviolet part of the sky, like a large circle in the sky, something beaming a light through the cloud because it's reflecting off the cloud. It's vivid ultraviolet and it's flashing. There's two of them connected and they're flashing on and off. Well, as he watches, these things separate. They're separate. They're two separate ones, and they join together, and they start to float across the sky. This huge patch, and I mean huge. This is the thing is the size of two football fields, right? And it's huge, and it's floating across the sky. Something above the clouds is reflecting down the ultraviolet light, and it eventually goes over his house, where you can see on the film. You get the scale, on the apex of the house, you can see it. You get the scale and size of this damn thing. Then after that, I get one in from Bedfordshire, where somebody films the same purple shade bouncing off the cloud again, moving. And then I get a single photograph from Huddersfield. A guy said his camera wasn't working, he couldn't video it, but he said, I took a picture of it. It's the same thing. And the thing that connects all of these, and they're all connected, is the fact that you've got this, in the very beginning, the first case, an ultraviolet craft emerging after a snowball incident. So the snowballs link everything up, and the ultraviolet things link everything up. And you've got one in Alaska. I've sent that to you, Chris. Whether you got that on the first one, I don't know. But on the second one, there's one in Alaska. Have a look at that one as well. The guy's going off his head looking at this thing over the mountains with white snowball against the grey sky. So this is not a coincidence. This is something is doing this, and I've got a view on it. If you want to hear it,
yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, here's what I think. I get these so-called clever people, right? And they talk about, they give opinions on this stuff, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're well educated, you know quite a lot about your subject, but let me ask you a question, all right? How in the name of hell can you understand something that might be a million years in front of us? Yeah?
Well, you can't.
Exactly, Chris, you can't. So why are these people giving you, well, this can't be done, that can't be done? I mean, these things could be several million years in front of us. They probably are. So what the hell are we trying to do? Saying you can't do this can't be done. This is a lot of rubbish.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea what that plasma ultraviolet light might be?
Here's what I think it is. This is a view. It's just an opinion. I think these things don't travel in a linear fashion, as we understand it from A to B. I mean, you're talking about distances out there that are just mind-boggling. I'll give you some simple references here. The Earth is about 12,000 miles through the middle, right? The Moon is about 8,000 miles through the middle, and the space in between is about 240,000 miles, give or take, right? If you were to travel at the speed of light between the two, you would go to the Earth, to the Moon, and back in 3 seconds, right? That's 186,200 miles per second. That's what the speed of light is. Now, if you think about that unbelievable speed, your mind can't take that in, then think on this. If you wanted to travel to the nearest star to this planet is Alpha Centauri, it's a binary star system. It's going to take you 4 years at the speed of light. That's the nearest one. It's like just down the road. It's 4 years at the speed of light. If you wanted to cross the Milky Way, our galaxy, from one end to the other, bearing in mind there's billions and billions and billions of galaxies, we're not even that big in the scheme of things. You travel across the galaxy from one end to the other at the speed of light will take you 100,000 years. Yeah? So they ain't traveling in a linear fashion. They're coming through dimensions, right? If you could think of two sheets of paper, right? Think of two sheets of paper. They're touching, but they aren't touching. There's a space in between. It's tiny, but it's there. Now think about where we are right now and the space we're in right now. And we can see and we understand and we relate to things around us. But think of a dimension that's like that sheet of paper right next to us, so close, but we know we're not in it. It's a separate dimension. It's the same space, exactly the same space, but everything is entirely different in that space. Everything is entirely different. And they know how to step across one into the other. And that's how they travel.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great theory, Jack. I'll tell you. And there's more and more ideas of portals and dimensional stuff happening all the time. You know, Skinwalker ranches. and different things.
I'll
I
tell
want
you.
to ask.
Sure, go ahead, Chris. Sorry, go.
No, you're the guest. You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, we're talking about all this stuff, like we're talking about incidents that took place, historic incidents that of significance. We're missing out the Grail here. I mean, I've been doing this for 65 years, off and on. I've seen a few things, I've heard a lot. And let me tell you, I have no doubt in my mind at all this is the Grail. You want to ask me about an incident that would sum this whole damn thing up? This will be it. This one incident, forget about the rest of it. And this is the one that took place in Africa with the children. Are you familiar with that?
Very much.
Yep.
So we've got a situation here. We've got 62 kids, 6 to 11, who some of them see aliens peering through a fence. They give a graphic description and are obviously emotionally affected by it. So much so that now that they're in their 30s and they've been interviewed again, they're still emotional about it. But more to the point, the James Fox, I think, put out the phenomenon recently. And on the phenomenon, he touched on Rua in Africa, this incident, right, at Ariel School. And the teacher, who is now the headmistress, came out and said, at the time she was too embarrassed to say it, but she witnessed everything that the kids saw, and she admitted it on the camera, that she saw what they saw. So you've now got 62 kids telling you, and you've got a teacher telling you. And he asked her the question. He said, well, what do you think happened that day? She said, we were visited by aliens, I quote. Okay? Now, somebody did a survey not long ago. These are numbers, statistics. You've got lies, damn lies, and statistics, but never mind. These are numbers. They came up with a number of cases that have been since 1947, give or take. And there's been over, would you believe, they estimated over 11.5 million reports. Yeah? That's pretty staggering. It only takes one of those to be right, and we stop talking about this. It's no longer a discussion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true.
Well, and how many people don't report?
Exactly. That's not even including.
It's true.
Yeah.
You know, and you said one of the perfect things, Jack, is that it only takes one.
That's right. Absolutely.
One report and to have that out there. I want to ask you about Betty William Bristol, the case you worked on there.
Was that her name?
That's her name.
I didn't know her name. But yeah, so you've seen the documentary by James Fox.
Hey, you sent me some. I got to take a look at it.
No, I didn't send you that, did I? Oh, no, sorry.
You sent me the documentary, but...
Sorry. Betty Williams. Yeah. Okay. This is Bristol. I'm getting mixed up here. Bristol, yeah, okay. Betty was a lovely, charming woman. I spoke to her on the phone. Bristol's about 350 miles from where I live, so I didn't go to see her, but we had a good chat. It was retrospective anyway. It was years before, quite a few years before. Betty she lives in Bristol. It was at night. She noticed a light in the sky. She grabbed her phone and started to record, and her daughter was watching it too. And as she was recording, you could hear her voice, and they were all getting pretty excited because this one turned into two, and two became three, and they're all there. And you could see them rotating, these white lights they were evolving. What was even more bizarre about it was these things were firing red beams down to the ground. She actually filmed this. Red beams were being fired down to the ground. Every now and again, you'd see them. And this lasted for about 10 minutes. She filmed a lot of this, actually. And they would disappear. Three would become two, then one, and then come back to three again. And they were spinning around and changing shape, changing their position, and firing these red beams down to the ground. Now, you're left with two alternatives here. One is either she rigged it, which I don't think she did. I don't think she could rig it anyway. Or secondly, it was a genuine film of something she saw in the sky. Turns out the police had no helicopters up that night. That was proven afterwards. But it never got it got an airing on the news, on the newspapers, but it was a spattering. It was played right down. As I say, the newspapers here appear to be very guarded in what they put out, actually. But I spoke to Betty, and I had absolutely no doubt she was telling the truth. And I've seen the video, of course.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Bristol's where my family is from, and a couple of my family members they've seen a couple weird things up in the sky. I just think that whole part of the country, definitely has something going on. You talk about red beams being shot down. I managed to bring this up in almost every episode we have because I'm so fascinated by color and the color lights on these craft and the color of the beams that come down. And just if you have been able to figure out that there's any meaning behind certain colors being able to do certain things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I know what you're asking, but I can't make any connection, particularly with the colors. I know there are very vivid, varying colors, and they change color and they change shape. I know all that, but
Yeah.
as to their significance, I really don't know. I don't know at all.
I think maybe that's just something I'm supposed to do, is start making charts, going back through decades worth of reports and just seeing if I can make some kind of spreadsheet and make any sense of the action that the craft took, and the color attached. Well, let me ask you this, especially with the white kind of fireball looking craft. Well, is it a craft, or could it just be some kind of pure energy? I mean, again, if they're thousands of years beyond us, I mean, maybe they're figuring out a way to not even have a solid craft involved.
You must have seen Star Trek, right?
Yes.
Captain Kirk would get into this thing and they would dematerialize and reform on the planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's something like that. It's like a plasma ball. It's a ball of energy which reshapes and it's like almost like a metamorphosis.
Mm-hmm.
This thing it reshapes after coming out of this. I think it's part of that. I think that's what it is. But science so far beyond us, we haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
I think it is that. That's my opinion anyway.
Jack, I want to ask you a question about, in all the cases you've done, I mean, we obviously know we've been playing with plasma for quite some time now, but because we've been playing with plasma and we think that plasma may play a big part with transportation of these crafts and everything, has anybody had any physical side effects from their sightings? Have you ever had any reports saying, oh my God, I have these burns on my arms, or I've got flu-like symptoms, or I've had sickness after this? Is because we have that in the United States with some people who have had encounters. Have you gone into that?
Yeah, I get reports in of people who show signs on their body of scars, things that have happened, there's marks on their body, yeah. And I get trauma, people suffer trauma because of this, and a range of side effects, actually. Yeah, we get those over here too, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, you go ahead. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, how many cases on average do you get out there for MUFON?
At its busiest, it's England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, but it's most of the populations are in England, so most of it is England, of course.
Right.
We get at one point we were getting in about 70 a month.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah, we're down to maybe about. It's quite a bit. It's got a quieter time at the moment. It peaks and troughs there's a bit. It changes, but I would say we're down to at the moment at maybe 20 to 30 a month, but it can get up to 70 a month. Yeah, it can get pretty busy.
Yeah.
How about anything in Scotland? Do you get much in Scotland?
There's a place. If you look at the map, you would see Glasgow, Scotland, and Edinburgh, right? And in between the two, there's a place called Bonnie Bridge. It's a small town. Bonnie Bridge has been for years a hotspot. It really is a hotspot, this place. Not far from Edinburgh, funnily enough. And it gets its share of very strange stuff. There's been some very strange. There was one incident in a forester saw a craft land in a wood, and it's historically free. You can find the records of this, but he was actually attacked by the craft, ended up in hospital. But they never found anything else. He claimed, he told them what he saw, he gave it a description, but that was it. But he claimed to have been he was knocked unconscious by the craft or something knocked him. Oh wow! But he saw it, plus something personal. And he was a very man, by the way, he was a very honest man, a very good reputation. So, yeah.
Did a light come out and hit him, or was he physically knocked down by the craft like you would be with a car or something?
He said two things came out of the craft. Two objects left the craft and came towards him like they were approaching him. And they found afterwards his trousers had been torn, and he was knocked unconscious. And when he came round, the craft had gone, and these objects had gone, and he was left lying on the ground.
Oh, that's crazy.
This is a hot spot. There's no doubt about that.
I have a question that I just love to ask other investigators, and that is if you could come face to face with a non-human entity, whatever is visiting us, and you had one question, like what do you most want to know?
Wow. This could be quite controversial.
Oh.
Well, what do you know about God?
That's a great one.
Yeah, that'll be it.
You know, I don't mind throwing this out there on that topic quickly, and that is, I get asked sometimes by people that are very, very religious, Well, I just don't know how God fits into all of this. And my answer, I don't know either, but my answer is always, why limit? God could, if you really think God created everything, then this could all be part of that too. I don't see why they're not mutually exclusive to me. I don't know. I'm not sure what your thoughts are. I don't know how much you want to go into that, but.
Well, no, I'd like to touch on it if I've got the time, but there's a subject close to my heart. One particular incident is, for me, is very prevalent, and it's called, it's an incident that took place in Portugal. Are you familiar with a historical event that took place in 1917 called the Miracle of Fatima? You ever heard of it?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. You've heard of it. How much do you know about it?
Oh, yeah. Well, what was it supposed to, it was like an angelic figure that came to them and it was healing and everything, right?
Do you know anything else about it? Do you know any detail?
Well, I don't. They might. That's about all I know.
All right. Have I got time to sort of tell you about it?
It was a vision, right, Jack?
Is that okay?
Well, we've got like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to be brief then. Okay. 1917, 3 children in a place called Algeciras, about 4 kilometers from Fatima, saw a vision above a tree. The vision spoke to them. Now, the vision told the 2 youngest children, there were 3 of them. Lucia Santos was the eldest, she was 11. Francisco Marto was as a boy 9, and his sister Jacinta Marto was 8. And she told the 2 youngest children they were going to die on the first incident, on the 13th of May, 1917. And the vision asked them to come back on the 13th of June, which they did. She spoke more to them, but this time there's a small entourage of people watching to see if they could see what was going on. They couldn't see or hear anything, only the kids could see the vision. On the 13th of July, did the same thing, more interaction between the vision and the kids. August, the children were arrested and put into jail and threatened with being boiled in oil if they weren't going to tell the truth. Nobody believed them. In September, they went, and there's quite a sizable crowd followed them this time, and Lucia Santos asked the vision to give them a sign, a miracle, so people would believe them. So on the 13th of October, they went to the same place, and this time it had been raining for 2 days. The mud was in a complete mud bath, this field, this area, this grassy area was covered in mud. It was a mud bath. The crowd estimated to be watching the event between 40 and 70,000, in fact, as high as 100,000, some people think. Now, Lucia Santos spoke to the vision that nobody else could see or hear. The other children could see it, but nobody else could. At the end of which she pointed to the sun and she said, "Look at the sun." The sun was veiled in cloud behind heavy cloud. The clouds parted, the sun began to dance. This was witnessed by between 50 and 100,000 people, right? They gave testimony from all walks of life, from the highest to the lowest on the social scale. The sun began to dance in the sky, move around and change color and spin like a Catherine wheel. They all saw this. They called it the dancing of the sun. It lasted 10 minutes, at the end of which everything went back to normal. The ground was dry. Now, that's interesting enough, and it's historically recorded, and the people gave testimony to this, by the way. It's got a lot of cred. But what I find really interesting isn't that. What I find really interesting is this was in October 1917. 13 months later, the war was going to finish. The First World War would finish in November 1918. The continent of Europe was riddled by Spanish influenza, a virus that killed, it's estimated, between 50 and 100 million people. This is recorded fact. That is what's really interesting. That's interesting enough. What is really interesting is the fact that both of the kids died of Spanish influenza. Both of them died, as foretold, by the way, 15 months later. They're both in a coffin. Now, this is recorded fact. What is interesting is then, 15 months before, when they were told they were going to die, the vision must have known how, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. What a way to end the show. I mean, Christmas miracles and wow. Jack, you have been an amazing guest. I've been just captivated this whole time. I mean, holy cow. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow. And thank you, Kate. Oh yeah, we could talk for another hour easily. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and thank you, Chris and Katie, as always. Great show, and happy holidays to everybody and all our listeners. And thank you to our producer, Bill Skywatcher, and our co-producer, Amanda Curran. Thank you all so much. And again, it's been a great show, and we will see you all in the new year. And don't forget to report to MUFON if you see anything, if you're looking up for Santa Claus. So, all
Jack,
right.
thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Same to you. Take care, see you, Chris.